Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Ask Abby, our live show where we answer all of your questions every week about credit, debt, and finances. Today, we are diving into a new series on credit scores. We're going to start at the very basics and talk about everything there is to know about your credit score, how to improve it, what to do if your credit score is lower, somewhere in the 300, 400, 500 range. And if you'd like to get it out of there, we have some tips and tricks for you. Before we dive in, please take a minute to like and share this video so that other people who might have questions about credit scores, especially in these financially tricky times, can get some answers to those questions. So let's talk about credit scores. First things first, I want to stop right here and say if you have heard of a credit score and you're not really sure what it's all about, or you have no clue what a credit score is, that's okay. We have a video just for you. So I'm going to put that for you in the comment bar so that you know exactly what we're talking about today. All right, that video is in the comments bar for you. So that breaks down exactly what a credit score is and what affects your credit score, what factors go into creating your credit score. It's a 2-minute video and it's super informative. So if you have never heard of this credit score thing or aren't really sure how it all works, take 2 minutes, jump over there or down below, wherever your link is, jump over, take a minute to watch that video, and then come back over because we've got some great topics to talk about today. So if your credit score is, between 3 to 600, somewhere in there, you're probably in one of two boats. Either boat number one, you have faced a challenge somewhere along the way, and you might be in a hole you want to kind of work your way out of and work towards improving it, but you're not really sure how. So that's boat number one. Boat number two is your credit score is low, or you don't even know what your credit score is anymore because you don't care. You're not actively monitoring or working towards an improved credit score, and your mindset for the whole thing is basically ignorance is bliss, right? You don't know what your credit is. It's not great, probably. And whatever changes are happening to it might be negative, positive, and what you don't know can't hurt you. So that's boat number two. And for those of you who are in boat number two, don't tune out. This show's for you. For those of you in boat number one who are looking to improve your credit score, and either want to know how to do that or are actively working towards an improvement, that's awesome. And I'm going to have a show for you next week for everybody on improving credit scores. In the meantime, I have an article for you to read for some tips and tricks for improving your credit score. So check that out. Today, I'm going to spend today's show convincing you why you should care about your credit score. A lot of people, if you don't have great credit, it's easy just to consider it another stress factor in your life and ignore it, right? I'm going to spend the time today to convince you that your credit score is your friend and you're better off treating it that way than ignoring it. As I talk through some of this stuff and as you're tuning in, please let me know what questions about credit scores you have. Drop them in the comment bar and I will keep an eye out in the comments, and if you have any questions, I'll get those answered for you. I want to know your perspective, whether you agree or disagree with me, so please share your thoughts. So why should you care about your credit score? We're going to talk about 5 reasons you should care about your credit score today, and the number one reason is to use credit. That sounds pretty straightforward, but credit impacts so many different areas in your life that you may not even be aware of. So let's say you're sitting there going, I don't care about my credit score because I'm not going to buy a car or a house anytime soon. So why do I need to care about it? Or why do I need to have a good credit score? There are aspects of your life, like simply buying a phone, which you need a decent credit score for. So that's a big one that a lot of people don't know about. The major phone carriers all check your credit score in order to get you the best deal on your cell phone bill. So if you hop onto a carrier's website and it says $35 per line, well, in order to get that rate, you're going to need your credit score checked because they want to make sure you can pay the bill every month. So if you don't have a great credit score or you don't have credit at all, the only way to get around that is there's a couple ways, but you're not going to be able to necessarily get that deal. So the only few ways to independently purchase a cell phone plan is to get a prepaid plan or do a down payment, some sort of deposit, which can end up being hundreds of dollars, or you'll have to pay for your cell phone outright. So a lot of times now, carriers will finance your phone into your cell phone plan, so you'll pay whatever the cost might be, let's say $30 for that new iPhone or Samsung phone or Google phone, whatever it is, and that's in your monthly bill. The only way to do that is to have a decent credit record. So they'll check that, and if you don't qualify, you'll have to pay for your phone outright, which, as we all know, phones aren't cheap anymore, so that can be super expensive. Another thing you need credit for that you might not know is renting an apartment. So if you're in that boat of, I'm not buying a house, I don't need credit, you actually do need credit to rent an apartment anyways. So most landlords, especially now, are being more cautious about who they rent to. So they'll run your credit report, make sure that you're not a risky financial situation for them, and they'll look at your credit score to ensure that you're not high risk. I know that a lot of people right now are facing eviction because of COVID. So last week we did a show all about evictions and COVID, and we answered the question, can I be evicted during the pandemic? So if you're asking that question, we have hey Jim, I'll address that for sure. But if you're facing eviction, definitely check out the video from last week. And if you have, Jim, definitely call our coaches. Our coaches can help you with that in particular. Low income, medical debts, things like that. So those are oftentimes things that aren't necessarily reported on your credit report, things like medical debts. So it might not necessarily be affecting your score, but if you're late on a medical debt and then that gets reported, that can affect your score. So the best thing to do there is to work with one of our credit coaches, and we can reallocate some of your debts and hopefully help you pay towards whatever you're behind on and consolidate or point you in the right direction for getting those payments made. And next week's show, we have a ton of tips and tricks for things just like that. Like, let's say you're behind on some payments. We have some tricks for how to get out of that. So tune in next week for sure. The other thing that you might not know you need credit for is insurance companies. So they might adjust your rates depending on your credit score. So you'll get a higher score if your credit's lower. So that's another reason you might need credit. So that's number one. The number one reason you should care about your credit score is to use credit sometime in the future. The number two is you could be a victim of fraud and not even know it. So the only proactive way that you can protect your identity and your credit and your finances is by looking at your credit report, because credit fraud really affects everybody, including and sometimes even especially people in that 300 to 600 range. And one of the things I really want to point out, you guys, is if you're in that range, you shouldn't be discouraged. 33% of people are in the low to like the poor to fair credit score ranges. So a third of the population is in that range. So don't feel like you're alone if you're in that situation. And we're going to give you some tips to get out of that. But if you're in that particular range, you could be targeted even more heavily for identity theft and credit fraud, because credit thieves and things like people like that are betting on the fact that you don't care about your credit score, so you're not actively looking at your report. So take a moment. I think I say this just about every week, but take a moment, go to annualcreditreport.com, grab your free credit report. I put the link in the comment bar. So grab your free credit report, check it out, make sure that there's nothing fraudulent. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into the things to look for on your credit report next week. In the meantime, though, if you have questions and you need help, our coaches will be able to walk you through your credit report. So call our coaches, let them know what you're trying to accomplish, and they can help you out. So that's number 2. You could be a victim of fraud and not even know it. The number 3 reason you should look at your credit score is because ultimately it can take a while to improve your score. So if you're somewhere below 600, it can be discouraging to get going. And I think that the biggest thing, if you have a lower credit score, is to remind yourself, like I said, that there are over 40 million people with credit scores lower than 550. So it's just a good reminder that, there are a lot of people in that range, and a third of them are there. So if you're there, just know that that's okay, and there are definite ways to get out of it. I just got a question of how much does it cost to call a coach? It's free. So definitely call our coaches. And if you have questions about any of this stuff, about your credit report, your debt options, paying off things like credit card debt, medical debt, student loan debt, things like that, we have coaching options for you. So yes, number 3 for why you should care is improving your credit score can take a little while. Hard inquiries, which is like when somebody pulls your credit to see if you qualify, a hard inquiry can be on your report for 2 years. It really only takes sometimes 6 months for it to stop affecting your credit score, but it does initially drop your credit score. So take a good hard look at hard inquiries and decide if you really need to be making that right now. Missed payments can affect your credit score for 7 years, and bankruptcy can take up to 10 years to get off your credit report. So those are some things to consider if those are on your report, actively working towards improving your credit score in every other way that you can, because it can take a while for all those things to drop off. So credit history is one of the factors that affect your credit score most, and all those things can affect it for a while. Then number 4 is if you're working on your credit score, you're probably making great financial moves. So what does that mean? It means if you're caring about your credit score, this is a blanket statement, obviously, but there are certain times in life you're going to need to make decisions that might negatively impact your credit score, but positively impact your life. But most moves that you'll make to increase your credit score are moves that benefit your financial stability in general. So, hi, Tim. So if you are making moves to improve your credit score, you're probably making moves to reduce your debt, lower your credit utilization, improve your credit history, and things like that. There are a couple of things that you can do to do that, and we're going to touch on those a little today, but really dive into them next week. One of them is if you catch up on your payments, the great news is that the debt collections will stop calling you. So that's great. Another thing you can do to improve your credit by default is work towards getting out of debt. If you call our coaches for free, like I said earlier, it's free. If you're curious about your debt relief options, regardless of what kind of debt you have or what sort of financial situation you're in, I put the link to our website in there. You can look at it that way, or you can call our coaches, and I'll put the phone number in there for you as well. Let me get that link for you, and then that's easier. You can just check out the phone number on the website. So There you go. Now the phone number's in there for you. You can call our coaches. Like I said, it's free. Getting out of debt will definitely improve your credit score. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is just if you are ready to make a purchase using credit, whether that be for your car, your home, a cell phone, a furniture purchase, something like that, you'll be in the right place, because even if a car purchase is in a little ways down the road, a good credit score might be a few years off as well. Not really. It actually only takes about 3 to 6 months to start seeing improvements, and 12 to 18 months to really get working towards that next credit score range. So, but as you start working, if your long-term goal is to purchase a car or a house, then working on it now, then in 3 to 6 months, you'll start heading in the right direction. A couple of closing thoughts is, first of all, when it comes to credit, avoid scams. There are only a few credit repair companies that are legitimate, and even those can sometimes use questionable tactics, and they'll charge you a ton of money. So just be cautious of the words credit repair or fix my credit, things like that. It takes time. So there's some things you can do short term to see improvements, but know that if somebody's going to guarantee you a credit score increase significant next week, it's probably not a good sign. So those are my closing thoughts. Just avoid scams and understand that it's not a super quick process, but you'll really start to see some positive changes in 3 to 6 months, and you'll work towards moving the right direction. Now that you hopefully agree, and if you disagree, let me know in the comments, but hopefully you agree that you should at least care a little bit about your credit score. So please tune in next week, now that you care, and we'll dive further into some really simple ways to improve your credit score and make moves towards success in your finances. Here's the thing. If you're still like, look, why do I care? None of this applies to me. I want to know about that. So if you really are like, I really don't know how I'm going to get out of this, I want to know. I'm here for you. That's why I'm here. So please reach out to me, or just go straight to our coaches. You can send me an email at askabby@creditindebt.org, and I can get you connected directly. Or you can send me an email there and ask me questions, and I'll answer them for you on our show next week, or send you a reply video directly. So go ahead and send me an email or comment and post on our Facebook page. Like and follow our page so that you see more content. And if you like our stuff, then you'll see more of it, then other people will see more of it, and everybody wins in that case. So thank you again so much for tuning in to our show, and we will see you next week at 12:30 for Ask Abby. Thank you.